everyone, Lou here. You know, with the awesomeness that was Trigun Stampede this year, it got me thinking about other anime from older eras that desperately need reboots. Today, let's check out some anime that need reboots. Now, this isn't to say the originals of any of these were bad. Some of these were incredible adaptations, but nearly all of these were either made before the source material was finished, or were so short that it didn't even have the chance to actually tell more than a gosh damn proof of concept. Spoilers for all the anime I mentioned here, by the way. Alright, let's get started. Nana. While Nana had an incredible adaptation in 2006, it never did get to finish telling the story, and well, the manga never even got to finish telling the story since the creator put it on permanent hiatus after dealing with severe health issues that prevented her from drawing for years now. Even now, she has expressed that she wants to someday continue Nana, but her current health issues make it nearly impossible for her to draw. To me, both Ayazawa's health as well as it being nearly 14 years since the manga went on hiatus, I genuinely don't think Nana's manga will ever continue or end. That's why a reboot would be totally perfect. Think of some other unfinished manga like Dororo or even Berserk where someone else took the helm to finish the story. In Dororo's case, Mappa took Osamu Tezuka's unfinished work and made a really great series out of it, while Kentaro Miura's close friends are working together to make a finale for Berserk based off what he already told them on how it would likely end. Jesus, makes it sound like poor Ayazawa is dead even though she isn't. Where the Nana manga leaves off, Nana Osaki disappeared after Ren dies of a car accident caused by an overdose on drugs, where Nana Kamatsu stays in their apartment for the day she returns. It jumps to about 10 years later, where Nana Kamatsu is contemplating divorcing Takumi, finds out Nana Osaki has a younger sister, Reida can only sing when she's around Nana Kamatsu's son, Nana Osaki is still missing, and many other characters kind of just left where we left them off. I think it'd be awesome to kind of at least try to think of an ending. The series left so much still hanging that it leaves a lot open for anyone to come in and wrap things up, to be honest. I say even canonize some widely accepted fan theories like Nana Kamatsu's son being Nobuo's kid, Nana Osaki running away because she found out she was pregnant with Ren's child, and finally the two Nanas reunite. Is a reboot for Nana with an actual ending likely to happen? Absolutely not, but every time I see TikToks of kids these days cosplaying Nana Kamatsu or Nana Osaki, that little dream of mine comes right back. The Promised Neverland. Well, the first season of The Promised Neverland is one of my favorite anime of all time because you guys fucking know I love brilliant cat and mouse games, psychological horror, and character trauma. The same can't be said for the second fucking season. Now, I know the manga for The Promised Neverland takes some pretty weird directions in pacing and kind of goes all over the place sometimes due to both the pandemic and Shonen Jump's notorious creative control. According to the duo, as well as multiple other mangakas who have published at Shonen Jump, they basically breathed down their necks that they had to put more action sequences and fights in order to be more exciting towards their core audience of teenage boys. This resulted in arcs like Goldie Pond, which is a mixed bag among manga fans, but I personally liked it, as well as crazy sequences involving Norman blowing up facilities or attacking demon territory with guns and explosives. Which allegedly Shonen Jump also gave them a fixed deadline to finish The Promised Neverland last minute, so that's why the ending feels super rushed. It was, technically speaking, cancelled. However, like many manga that sadly had to rush its ending due to deadlines or shitty publishing, this is where an anime adaptation would come in and fix that issue. Except, apparently, Cloverworks was told by someone, who the fuck knows who, that apparently they only had this season to tell the rest of the manga because it ended, so... Which is just super weird to me because Demon Slayer ended 2 years ago and they're still adapting the story, so I don't understand the logic there. To me, it just seems like the industry hated this series for what it was trying to do, but that's just me. This resulted in the second season finally trumping Black Butler 2 in one of the worst second seasons of an anime ever fucking made. Not only did the animation take a nosedive, but extremely important and methodical plot points were so rushed that all of the nuance was gone. The entirety of Goldie Pond was skipped, and even major characters like Yugo were completely skipped over. Not to mention, the final episode was literally a slideshow of one of the last storylines involving Emma and the demon god, who isn't even explained in this anime, so anybody watching only the anime is confused as shit. But also, Emma's entire ending changed. Oh, and Isabella wasn't killed, which was admittedly very stupid of the manga to do, and now gets to be an actual chill mother to the kids, and I think it's implied she found love. Like, you've all seen the millions of videos at this point talking about how fucking awful this second season was. After this and Wonder Egg priority, I'm surprised mangaka and other associated people trusted them with making manga adaptations again, but thankfully they've done a pretty damn good job with Shadow House, Spy X Family, and Horimiya, so maybe I trust them again to make a remake of the second season. I've never heard of a studio remaking a second season in particular, but then again, I don't know how you fuck up so badly where that needs to be the case either. Pet Shop of Horrors. Okay, so this was introduced to me by one of my best friends, and let me tell you, I adore this series. I haven't really had the chance to fully read the manga, but from what I've read as well as the OVA for this, I desperately wish we got more of this really cool psychological horror series. This is a pretty obscure one too. I don't think anyone besides that friend of mine has ever heard of this series before, so I'll explain the story as quickly as I can here. The story is about a guy named Count D who runs a pet shop in New York's Chinatown. Except this pet shop doesn't sell your typical hamsters and snakes here. This pet shop secretly sells magical animals, from one flaming horse in Japanese mythology to mermaids. Except Count D always gives specific rules for owning these pets, and each one has specific qualifications. If the person doesn't listen to his rules, then they face some pretty shitty consequences. And even if they do listen to the rules, owning a mythological creature isn't exactly a walk in the park, so usually people are met with a grim end no matter what, because there's deep reasons for why these people need to purchase these pets. Cut to Leon Orcott, a rookie New Yorker detective who thinks Count D is either selling illegally exotic animals like tigers, or he's selling drugs. So he follows along these people who purchase these pets from him to try and bust Count D, only to slowly begin to realize the supernatural exists, and it's not exactly illegal to own a unicorn. This is a really awesome series that's sort of a psychological trauma with a mythological creature that matches the trauma of the Week series, and I think a modern adaptation would do a really badass job adapting it. Now, the last studio to adapt this was Madhouse, and I think they did a fantastic job, so I think they can easily adapt this again for a reboot. After all, they're practically known for critically acclaimed anime like Perfect Blue, Death Note, Monster, and the original Trigun anime from 1998. While literally no soul ever has heard of this series, I would die for a new adaptation. I mean, I guess it makes no sense since I think the series ended like 20 years ago, and the sequel series has been critically panned for taking a more slice-of-life approach to the darker tone. I still hold out hope, though. Speed Racer. Despite Speed Racer, or Mach Go 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 as it's known in Japan, being one of the first door kickers for anime in the United States all the way back in the 1960s, there's really been only one attempt from Japan in the 1990s to remake Speed Racer, and even then it was so boring and bad that they had to cancel it 34 episodes in. Which is super weird to me because Astro Boy, Cutie Honey, and other 50s to 70s animes get reboots all the time. Hell, we're getting an Astro Boy retelling this year by the guy who made Monster, so like, you sneeze and there's a new Astro Boy adaptation. The same can't really be said for Speed Racer, which is deemed a classic among the elderly in Japan. Super weird, because it's not like Speed Racer's story or anything is hard to remake and shift into gears for a modern audience. If anything, America readapts Speed Racer more than Japan does, considering we had an awesome live-action film here, and an entire cartoon series about the secret son of Speed Racer or something. Yeah, by the way, please let me know if you guys want a video on Speed Racer The Next Generation, because that was one of the weirdest shows I ever saw as a kid. Anyway, not sure which studio could do a remake, because you could take Speed Racer's basic story into so many different directions. You could go the edgy route, the comedic slice of life route, the drama route, and so much more. I'll leave that up to you guys. Personally, I'd love to see a drama route because I think it'd be cool to have these action-packed races with really high stakes attached to it. Point is that I loved Speed Racer as a kid, and I would watch every episode in the ye old days of YouTube when anime was uploaded in 240p in 3 parts. So there's always that part of me that desperately wants a remake for basically nostalgia. Bludgeoning Angel Dokura-chan. Do I think this anime would fly today? Probably not if there's weird people out there that call Urusei Yatsura domestic violence and Mamoru and Usagi as emotional abuse for some fucking reason. But do I want a reboot? Absolutely! Not to say this anime had a boom or anything, but if you were in anime forums in the mid-2000s where your whole friend group were trying to do the dance for Hare Hare Yukai and Hatsune Miku wasn't even created yet, then you probably saw at least one anime redraw of Dokura, or at least saw clips of her infamous resurrection spell. And since no one's heard of it, the story is about a boy named Sakura who is greeted by an angel named Dokura. She's sent from the future to kill him because in the future he invents immortality, but the catch is that only women are immortal and they stop aging at 12, so he created a pedo problem for the entire world. Seeing as this is an abomination, she was sent to kill him, except uh-oh, Dokura-chan fell in love with him. The series is then Dokura following Sakura to make sure he becomes a complete idiot so he'll never be smart enough to discover immortality and become a pedo, where violent slapsticks ensues. It only had 6 OVAs in the mid-2000s, but was never fully able to tell the original story of the light novel. At least, I don't think it did. Try as I might, I could not find anyone talking about the light novel, and the manga adaptation was cancelled halfway through or something, so I can only assume it didn't, especially when the light novel ended 2 years after the OVAs. Still though, if only for more content, I would love a reboot of Dokura-chan. Considering this is a gory, ecchi comedy, I thought this series was hilarious, so now that we have a reboot of Urusei Yatsura, another series about slapstick romance, I think now's the time to please give more of this bludgeoning angel. Studio-wise, I'm genuinely not sure. Maybe David Productions, only because they do a pretty good job at animating both gore and comedy, so I can picture them doing pretty well with it, but I'm not super sure, because David Productions used to be pretty hit or miss before working on JoJo's, which upped their quality like a million times more as a studio. At the very least, if I'm not getting a reboot, I'd at least love a re-release of the light novel because I'm actually pretty curious to see how the series ended. Before I get to the final entry, quick shout out to Tokyo Ghoul. The industry did that series so fucking dirty in the anime department, and I hope someday Tokyo Ghoul gets an actually faithful anime adaptation. Akira. Now, don't get me wrong, the classic 1988 anime film is one of the best anime films ever made on an animation scale. But I feel like Akira's manga is a whole other level that I feel the film didn't really capture. I mean, yes it did, as condensed as it possibly could, but I mean the detail and the character depth is something the movie really lacked that it tried to fix with symbolism and very minor flashbacks. The manga for Akira goes into some pretty crazy directions as well as diving into the life of Kanada and Tetsuo in more detail, like their time at school and home life. Even Kei is also somehow an esper like Akira, I think. And there's just this entire cult around Tetsuro and Akira, which, by the way, biggest difference in the manga is that Akira wasn't dissected into pieces and was actually alive inside the giant ball thingy. I actually got to work on a manga dub of Akira a while back as both an editor and a voice actor in it, so I really got to dive into a lot of the really cool nuance and details of the manga that I didn't really get to see when I watched the film. I mean, I do think animating an Akira reboot series would be pretty big shoes to fill, just because the original film had such massive cultural impact, specifically in music and gaming, with artists like Kanye West making scenes for his music videos stronger using the hospital scene in Akira, and Cyberpunk 2077 basically putting Akira on their mood board. Still, I do think the right studio can do this justice. I want to say MAPPA only because MAPPA keeps pumping out banger after banger, but I don't want to put these poor artists in a coma from overworking, so who knows who else could do Akira? You guys let me know down below who you would want to see adapt this series. With the grand finale, is there any other anime you'd like to see get a reboot someday, or maybe you agree with any of these getting a reboot? As always, let me know down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. If any of you would like to help support my channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description, along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who'd like to help with video ideas, or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!